This tank is a WZ-131. This is a Chinese Tier 7 light tank, and the map is Westfield. I'm going to get 9 kills in this game, and it's going to be a very classic game. It's what's going to happen is we're going to be down something like 2 to 7, me and one of my allies, and there's going to be something like 7 or 8 enemy tanks, and they're basically going to come in one at a time, which is going to allow me to kill them all off with the assistance of my ally, the SPG, which will be the Hummel. So the first thing that I do is I come out to this spotting position. And there's a couple of different spotting positions that you can take. And the reason why I decide to take this one is because you do get shots on the tanks as they're driving across. You can see that tank has already taken some damage, so they will get spotted coming across. And your allies in the south will be able to take shots at them also. There's a lot of shots that you can take as these tanks are going across. So you're going to soften them up for your allies. Part of playing this map is you really want to make sure that your flank wins as quickly as possible, because if the heavy tanks win, then you have to work twice as hard to clean up the mess. So one of the things that you're noticing is we don't have a lot of tanks where the heavy tanks are. We only have the KV-85 fighting in that area. So we're likely to lose in that area. And our tanks in the south, the medium tanks, didn't go very far. So I'm not happy with what's going on. I want to take up a better position. I want to kill some tanks and spot some tanks. You'll notice that there's a Jackson here. When you go up over a hill, you always want to try and crest through a bush. It would be nice if I could damage that tank. Unfortunately, I might not be able to. So it's important to try and track as many enemy tanks that are slow as much as possible, especially if they're heavily armored. It allows your allies to do damage to them. You're going to notice that the heavy tanks won up on the hill. So because they won, we're going to need to spot them as they head south. We're going to need to have a spotter to just watch the field and watch them as they head south. Even if there's no bush to hide in, you have to stay in a position where you can spot for your allies. And there's only a few allies, the T-67, the SU-100Y, your SPGs. Okay, so over here I found a bush that I can spot from. Got to do as much damage as possible to these tanks as they're coming down. You want to prioritize any tank that's close to your base, such as that tank right there. Now, the reason why I moved far down the hill is in part because there's enemy SPGs in the game, and you want to avoid the enemy SPGs. Got to get to that spotting position. Scores 3 to 6. Easy kill. Missed it. Got to roll back because of the SPG. You want to be in a position that the SPG is going to be difficult to hit you. Now the AT is showing me his side armor, which means I should be able to get some damaging shots. Hopefully he'll be out of the game. That's 2 kills for me. My team is mostly at the base area. We've got a lot of enemy tanks. There's a lot of ways that I could play this out. But I want to spot for my team as much as possible. You can see that there's a tank spotted behind me. Going to stay as low as possible so it's difficult for him to shoot at me. And he's out of the game. So obviously he was tracked, which prevented him from turning his gun towards me. I still have most of my hit points. Now in that short amount of time, there's only 2 allies left in the game. 2 allied SPGs and I've got 3 kills. So now I have to go, I'm looking on the mini-map and I see that most of the enemy team is going to be coming from the southeast. So I'm setting up a spotting position. Going to let my allies damage them as much as possible. Hide amongst the buildings. The SPGs are going to be shooting at me. Keep on moving. Stay within the buildings. We see we got an enemy tank there we could shoot at. So the SPG may have hit that Panzer, we don't know. What I'm doing is I'm spotting, hoping that my allies will do any damage to any tanks that we see. I'm waiting for the enemy to come in. Wait for him to get behind that bush before you fire at him. If he's behind the bush, he's less likely to fire at you. He's less likely to spot you. Hopefully my allies will take out that Stug. They did a lot of damage to him. I can do the kill shot. Want to stay hidden as much as possible. So I missed a shot on that Panzer IV. Because I was spotted, I want to get into a safe position surrounded by as many buildings. You can see that I'm putting the enemy, trying to find a way to make it so that it's difficult for them to shoot at me. Basically, okay, so that tank just died. This one I'm going around, but because that tank is there, I need to turn right in order to avoid him, or turn towards the buildings. So I was able to take out that Stug. I gotta stay alive. My priority is to stay alive in this game. I got 6 kills. Let my allies hit that T-67. So the T-67 might get a shot at one of my allies, might get some kills in. I'm going to go in and help my allies out as best as possible. Missed. Unfortunately, I missed. Okay, so I got to keep on moving to avoid the enemy SPG. I got, the score is 13-13. I got 7 kills. Now we have a situation here. 7 minutes left in the game. What's the proper strategy? The proper strategy is you want your SPG to head to the enemy base. Whatever happens, it's better for your ally, your SPG, to be near the enemy base because there's a chance that he might have to cap to win the game. And because of the amount of time it takes to get there and the amount of time it takes to cap, you want that SPG to go there as soon as possible. My idea was to go scout out that enemy SPG. I do tell my ally to head for the enemy base, but he's not going to do it. One of the other issues is we don't know where those enemy SPGs are. And one of those is actually headed towards my base right now. And we're obviously going to find that out the hard way. You'll notice that I'm moving away from the enemy tank so that it lessens the chance that he spots me. I'll be able to keep him spotted, but I want to be far away. And I still have to find that other SPG. One of the issues is you can see where the SU-122A is, but I think he's going to get away from me. At the time, I thought it would be very easy. I'll just go up to that same spot and find him. But when I went up there, I couldn't find him. So I decided to go after the... Oh, there's an SPG right there. He should have gone to the enemy base, which should have been the proper strategy for him, but he didn't do it. So he's going to become an easy kill. Now the SU-122A, he's headed towards my base, but the question is, where is he, and am I going to be able to find him before he gets there? I thought, you know, for sure he's a slow tank, easy to spot, hard for him to hide. I thought I'd be able to spot him. So I come up to here where he was last spotted, and he's not here. So now I get a little bit worried. I'm thinking, where did he go? He could have gone to try and force a draw, which would have been up in the A1 area, or he could be headed towards my base to try and take on an SPG or to try and cap or something like that. So as I was saying, I was really concerned. We've got 4 minutes left. It would have been better if my allied SPG had headed towards the enemy base. It would have been safe for him to do so. I'm assuming that the enemy is trying to force a draw, which is why I'm scouting out in this hilly area over here. And I was very confused as to how he was able to get away so quickly. I waited too long to advise my ally to go to the enemy base. I just advised him now. It was too little too late. I should have told him 3.5 minutes ago. So if you play SPG and you're in this situation, you want to have a strategy of going to the enemy base. The person who's pinging on the map, okay, so there's the SU-122A. He just showed up. He killed my ally. However, the SU-122A is no match for me. He's going to be an easy kill. I'm going to speed it up a little. He's not going to be able to get away from me. Got 3 minutes left to find him. And that's the game. Got 9 kills, 1,700 damage, 1,000 spotting damage. This tank is a WZ-131. This is a Chinese Tier 7 light tank. The map is mines. I'm going to show you a technique that I use in these games. What we're going to do is first we're going to spot enemy tanks that are heading into the game. Because people aren't ready for this yet, we don't usually do a lot of damage, but if our allies are anticipating and set up better, you can see I'm taking shots. We are going to get some damage on these tanks. So what we're going to do is we're going to flank these guys. Me, the Centurion, the T-43, everyone that's on the western side of the map, we're going to push forward. I'm going to go to the next set of bushes. You notice that the SU-122 44 was spotted. We're going to keep those TDs in the backfield spotted. Tanks like that. The SPGs will fire at them. The Centurion will fire at him. The T-43, you can see that the Waffenträger was spotted. So after we take those tanks out of the game, the Chiri was spotted, the SU-122 was killed, so he's already out of the game. After these tanks are out of the game, we're going to continue to advance forward. We're going to spot their SPGs and kill them. Took a 617 hit on that Waffenträger. And then we're going to get behind the enemy, and we're going to shoot at the enemy from behind, hopefully from a position where they can't see us. So the Lorraine got spotted on that shot. I'm not sure who spotted him. Must have been one of my allies. As you can see, I'm moving to a closer position. He's out of the game. We've got the SPIC. We got to spot that Waffenträger. This tank is a great tank. I love playing this tank. It's a Tier 7 WZ-131 Chinese tank. So if you like playing light tanks, I do recommend these tanks. So I'm watching the minimap to try and gauge when it's safe to advance to get close to these tanks so that we can start spotting them. For example, you're going to see that there's a Scorpion G. Oh, look at that. He's out in the open. And it's pretty safe for me to be in this position. I'm going to be watching his gun. You can see the Centurion and the T-43 are starting to make their advance north. You want to stay in the water. When you're in the water, you're at a very low point in the field, so it's going to be difficult for the enemy to hit you on the low ground. So I found some bushes where I can advance. If that Scorpion G gets spotted, he's going to be an easy target for me to fire at. So the Waffenträger is now out of the game. There's that Scorpion. He's quite far away. It will be very difficult for him to spot me, even if I'm firing my gun because of the distance. Scores 9-2. We're cleaning up on these guys. Now, even though he's unspotted, I'm still going to take shots at him. You can see that the SPIC is going to be shooting at the rear flank. You want to see where that SPIC is. He is right over there. He has shots on any tank that is in the middle of the hill. The T-43 is taking up a sniping position where the enemy was. I also have clear shots on the hill. Scores 12-4. I did 1,000 damage. Got 1 kill. Now we got 2 enemy tanks in the game. Telling my team that I think they did a good job. Now I'm just going to run in. I got mostly full health. I don't care if they shoot at me. Just try to do as much damage as I can. And that's the game. I did 1,400 damage, 840 spotting damage, and I've done this maneuver many times, and it's definitely an effective maneuver. This tank is a WZ-131. This is a Chinese Tier 7 light tank, and the map is Mountain Pass. This is actually a pretty good tank, and I'm going to show you a spotting position that you can use on this map, and you'll be able to see what it can be used for and when it's effective. So I'm going to speed up a little bit to get there. We're going to come over to the bridge, and you're going to notice that there's a bush right here, and I wasn't spotted on the way. And you can park in this bush, and you can not only watch the bridge to some extent, but you can watch what they call the ice road. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Now you'll notice in the chat, it says, I will spot ice road, so you can stay back a little. However, my allies decided not to do that. They decided to advance. Even though that T-26E5 is pointed in my direction, he knows that he's been spotted by a tank nearby, but he doesn't realize that where I am. So you can see another one of my allies is advancing to go after those tanks at the other end of the bridge. And I'm keeping this lone T-26E5 spotted. Now, obviously, the enemy did not send a lot of tanks on the ice road, so we're not going to see how effective it is for spotting damage. And the other issue is that my team that advanced on the ice road is going to lose. So we're not going to see a good game, but this is not about showing you the great, wonderful games. This is about showing you spotting positions. So let's move on to the next one. This tank is a WZ-131. This is a Chinese Tier 7 light tank. The map is Serene Coast. So we're going to do some scouting at the beginning of the game. There's a couple different techniques that I found. Some are good for sniping. Some are just for scouting and spotting. If you want to stay safe, you want to stay near the buildings as much as possible. And you want to have an escape route. You want to know where you're going to go as soon as you get spotted so that you can get out as quickly as possible and as safely as possible. You notice that that first tank that was spotted was not spotted by me. Someone else spotted him. So I spotted one tank, which was the low. And I'm going to return to base, and I always go far enough back that the enemy will hopefully lose me off their radar. Because when I come back in, I don't want them to be able to anticipate the route that I might take. Don't have any spotting damage yet. So in that run, I did not spot anything. I didn't go that deep. Something funny actually happened in this game. My ally says to ping the enemy Artie, and what's going to happen is the Artie was just spotted, so obviously everyone is pinging him now on the mini-map. Which, you know, that was a good laugh. Okay, so I did a third spotting run. I did not, maybe I picked up that Rheinmetall and I got a 45 TP. But I did not get any spotting damage or any substantial spots. Okay, so there was some spotting damage. I got 267 on the Rheinmetall, Waffenträger, whatever it is. Going in for another spotting run. This is not a technique that I use very often, so I haven't quite refined it, but I know the basics of the technique. So I spotted the VK. The VK and the 45 TP are all the way on the west side, and I did get spotting damage on that 45 TP, 100 damage. So that was another run that didn't produce very much. One of the other things that I'm going to point out is even if I do spot something deep in the enemy territory, we don't have allies set up in sniping positions. The only one who'd be able to hit them would be the artillery. Okay, so let's move on to the next video. This tank is a WZ-131. This is a Chinese Tier 7 light tank, and the map is Cliff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get behind the enemy. I'm going to try and flank the enemy, and I'm going to show you how I did it on this particular game. There's many different ways to do it. There's about 4 techniques that I came up with for this particular map per spawn. I just had an idea for another one. Okay, so what I usually like to do is I usually like to come out here, be as fast as possible, spot a bunch of enemy tanks, but not only spot tanks, I like to try and snipe, get some shots in and do some damage to some unsuspecting tanks. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to come over to this bush right over here, and I wanted to see if I could spot any tanks that were coming across. However, this enemy Type 62 is coming in my direction. So I had to reverse. I had to come up with a different strategy. You'll notice that there's a lot of enemy tanks in front of us, 2, 4, 6, 8. There's 2 enemy SPGs. There's 2 enemies in the west. So there's 3 tanks that have not been spotted yet in the game. I am a very lightly armored tank, so I really don't want to engage in close combat. And this is somewhat of a lower tier game. I am a tier 7 in a tier 6-7 game. Now you notice that the SU-100M1, he is a turretless tank destroyer. His gun is going to be pointing south, which means that his rear is going to be pointing north, and it's going to be undefended. So I can get right in there, and I can shoot at him. Looking for a good position to sit in. I was trying to track him so he doesn't move around. So you notice I had to reverse a little bit because this tank was shooting at me. The reason why I reversed is because I'm trying to get under his gun depression so that he won't be able to shoot back at me unless he does something crazy. Now, people always talk about why to use the auto-aim. That's an example where I was using the auto-aim to fire at the SU-100M1, and I killed him, but I wasn't looking at him. I was looking at this other tank. So that's a method that you use the auto-aim to kill a tank while you're watching somebody else. Fortunately, I got a little bit of a long reload on this tank, but he's out of the game. Now, remember we were counting tanks before, so let's get back into counting tanks, and let's see what happens. There's 3 dead enemy tanks. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, plus the 3 dead, which is 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So there's 13 tanks that we know what happened to them. There's 2 tanks that are unspotted. And I do this while I'm playing. He's actually quite easy to take out of the game, so don't really worry about this guy. Yeah, he's out of the game. So we found another tank, which is the M44. And when I say talk about unspotted tanks, I don't include the SPG, because the SPGs tend to sit in one location. They're not a direct threat. You'll notice that I'm zigzagging, and I'm staying as far to the left of the map as possible, and I'm looking for the SPGs. I was actually surprised that I did not find the M44. I thought he was going to be right here. But I'm in a very safe position right here. My allies are advancing. I've got 2 kills. Now from over here, we're going to look for enemy tanks to shoot at. We know that there's an M44 that's going to be very close. You notice that that Firefly is not looking at me. So I spotted the M44. As soon as I spotted him, I reversed because I want my allies to do the damage. And I'm going to wait to see if my allies kill him. And if he becomes unspotted, I will go and spot him again. So it looks like he became unspotted. I'm using a different technique to elevate my gun. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to shoot at him. I was trying to line up a shot exposing my tank the least amount as possible, but unfortunately it didn't work. So he's out of the game. However, I was spotted. Tanks were shooting at me. Again, I'm a spotter, so I want my allies to take as many shots as possible, and I'm only going to shoot at tanks that are not a threat to me. It's my responsibility to spot that guy for my team. We got a Cromwell. I'm really worried about this Cromwell, so I'm going to reverse and get as far away from him as possible. And you'll notice that there's a couple hull down positions, like this one right here, that I can sneak in to try to avoid that Cromwell and hope that my allies can help me, but it doesn't look like the allies are going to be able to help me in this situation. Now, what I did in this position, you can rewind and watch it. When he's coming around, I wanted to go past him, and there's 2 ways to go around him. One is I could have headed that way, and the other way is I could have headed this way. And he smartly rammed into me. I tried to avoid it as much as possible. But the point that I'm making is that if I had gone that way, it would have been easier for him to track me with his gun because of the direction that he was moving and the way that I was moving. If I were driving this way, I would have gotten behind him while his gun was pointing in the other direction. And unless he does a handbrake turn, I would have been opposite the direction that his gun was firing. If I had gone that way to try and go around him, he would only have to turn his gun quarter turn around, but if I go this way, he has to do a half turn. So that's why the direction that I was making was the smarter decision, but fortunately for him, he was able to ram me. Okay, so the score is 9-6. I did 900 damage, 1,400 spotting damage. I showed you how I gauge when to do the reverse flank and what the safe location is. Normally, tanks like this Cromwell are not going to come looking for you, especially if they're on low health. They're not going to come looking for you. Okay, so let's move on.